You're sitting across from someone you've known for years. They're smiling, nodding, saying all the right things. But when you look into their eyes, there's nothing there. No warmth. No flicker of recognition. Just a cold, empty stare that makes your skin crawl. You tell them something that breaks your heart. Something that should move anyone. And they just blink. Once. Twice. Then they ask if you want coffee. Something is wrong. Something has always been wrong. But you can't quite name it. Until now. This is PSYY. And if you leave now, you'll never see the void that's been staring back at you this whole time. There are people walking among us who experience the world in a way most of us can't imagine. They don't feel joy when something beautiful happens. They don't feel sadness when someone they supposedly love is in pain. They don't feel fear when danger is near. They don't feel anything. Not in the way you do. And the terrifying part? They've learned to fake it so well that you might never know. They've studied your reactions. Memorized the appropriate responses. Built an entire personality out of borrowed emotions. But underneath that carefully constructed mask, there's a silence so deep it would swallow you whole if you ever truly saw it. This isn't about someone having a bad day. This isn't about emotional numbness from depression or trauma, though we'll touch on how those connect. This is about something far more unsettling. This is about the person who looks at a sunset and feels nothing. Who watches you cry and calculates their next move. Who moves through life like an actor who's forgotten they're human. And the question that should terrify you is this: how many of them have you already met? The inability to feel emotional depth doesn't just happen randomly. It's rooted in how the brain processes emotional information, particularly in areas like the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. When these regions don't communicate properly, or when they've been damaged through trauma or genetics, something fundamental breaks. Emotions aren't just feelings. They're survival mechanisms. They tell you when to run, when to connect, when to trust. A person who feels nothing has lost their internal compass. They navigate the world using logic alone, like someone trying to paint without ever seeing colors. But here's where it gets darker. Some of them were born this way. Their brains never developed the wiring for deep emotional connection. Others had it beaten out of them, metaphorically or literally, until their mind decided feeling anything was too dangerous. The result is the same. A person who watches life happen around them like they're viewing it through bulletproof glass. Present, but not really there. So what does someone who feels nothing actually want? If emotions don't drive them, what does? Control. Structure. Predictability. When you can't feel, you become obsessed with managing the external world because your internal world is an endless, echoing silence. They want to know what happens next. They want to eliminate chaos. They want to never be surprised by something they can't understand, which is almost everything involving genuine human connection. Some of them chase stimulation, extreme experiences, risk, danger, not because they enjoy it, but because it's the only time they feel even a flicker of something resembling aliveness, a distant echo of what being human might be like. Others give up on feeling entirely and focus on achievement, status, winning, not because success brings them joy, but because it's measurable, concrete, real in a way emotions never are for them. And then there are the ones who learn to mimic emotions so perfectly they convince even themselves. They want to be normal, to fit in, to not be the monster they suspect they might be. So they study you, learn your patterns, become a mirror that reflects what you want to see. Emotional flatness often walks hand in hand with the dark triad traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, psychopathy. Not always, but often enough that the overlap is impossible to ignore. The narcissist who feels nothing beneath their grandiose exterior. The Machiavellian who manipulates without guilt because guilt requires emotional connection to others. The psychopath who charms and deceives because they've learned emotions are tools, not experiences. People like this don't manipulate you because they hate you. That would require feeling something. They manipulate you because you're useful, because you serve a function, because in the vast emptiness of their inner world, you're just another variable to manage. The terrifying efficiency of someone who can hurt you without flinching. Not out of cruelty, but out of indifference. You're not a person to them. You're a puzzle piece. And if you don't fit anymore, they'll discard you without a second thought. Because second thoughts require feelings they simply don't have. Here's what makes them so difficult to identify. They've learned to perform emotion. They know when to smile, when to touch your arm sympathetically, when to say I love you in just the right tone. They've watched thousands of hours of human interaction and taken notes. But if you pay attention, you'll notice something is off. Their emotional responses are always slightly delayed, like they're translating from a foreign language. You tell them something devastating and there's a microsecond pause before the appropriate concern appears on their face. It's not spontaneous. It's selected. Their emotions also don't layer the way normal emotions do. When you're angry and hurt and scared all at once, it shows. It's messy, complex, human. But someone who feels nothing can only perform one emotion at a time. They'll show you anger or sadness, but never the complicated mixture that real feeling creates. And they never, ever lose control. Because losing control requires being overwhelmed by emotion. They might fake an outburst if it serves them, but watch carefully. Even their rage is calculated. Even their tears are strategic. Not everyone who feels nothing was born that way. Some were made. Imagine a child who learned that feeling anything led to punishment. That crying brought violence. That showing joy meant it would be taken away. That loving someone meant they'd abandon you. Eventually, the mind does the only thing it can to survive. It shuts down. Emotional numbing becomes armor. If you don't feel, you can't be hurt. If you don't connect, you can't be destroyed when the connection ends. It's a brutal form of self-protection that works too well. The armor becomes permanent. The walls become a prison. These people aren't monsters. They are survivors of something so terrible their mind chose numbness over agony. But the result is the same. They move through the world unable to truly reach out. Unable to let anyone in. Unable to feel the very thing that makes life worth living. And sometimes, deep down, they know what they've lost. And that knowledge is the only pain they can still feel. So how do you spot someone who feels nothing? They're the ones who never quite match the emotional temperature of the room. Everyone's laughing and they're smiling, but their eyes are somewhere else. Someone's crying and they're saying the right words, but there's a flatness to their voice that makes your skin crawl. They tell stories about their life with perfect detail but zero emotional color. They remember exactly what happened but can't tell you how it made them feel. Because it didn't. Not really. They're often extremely logical. Rational to a disturbing degree. You can't have an emotional argument with them because they'll dissect your feelings like a scientist examining a specimen. They'll point out the logical inconsistencies in your pain. And perhaps most telling, they never seem to need people the way you do. They can go weeks without deep conversation and seem fine. They don't reach out when they're struggling because they don't struggle the way you do. They exist in a state of permanent emotional self-sufficiency that looks like strength but is actually isolation. Here's what they'll never tell you. When you can't feel, people become incredibly easy to manipulate. Because you're not clouded by empathy. You're not held back by guilt. You can see exactly what someone needs to hear and deliver it without your own emotions getting in the way. They know you want to be understood, so they'll mirror your values back to you until you think you've found your soulmate. They know you need validation, so they'll give it strategically, just enough to keep you hooked but never enough to satisfy you. They know you fear abandonment, so they'll threaten to leave the moment you stop being useful. It's not personal. That's what makes it so horrifying. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just optimizing their environment. You're a resource to be managed. And when you stop providing value, when you become too complicated or demanding or human, they'll replace you without hesitation. Because to hesitate would require caring. And caring is the one thing they simply cannot do. But there's something we haven't talked about yet. The cost they pay for feeling nothing. Yes, they are protected from pain. But they're also cut off from everything that makes being alive worthwhile. They'll never feel the overwhelming joy of falling in love. The deep satisfaction of meaningful connection. The peaceful contentment of belonging somewhere. The electric thrill of being truly seen by another person. They move through life untouchable. But untouchable means unreachable. Unreachable means alone. And that loneliness, that fundamental disconnection from the entire human experience, is a form of suffering so profound most of us can't imagine it. Some of them know this. And that awareness is its own quiet hell. You might notice them in your workplace. The colleague who climbs the ladder without seeming to care who they step on. Not because they're cruel, but because your feelings simply don't register as real to them. You're upset about being undermined? That's interesting data. They'll note it. Adjust their approach next time. But they won't feel bad about it. Think about the last time someone you loved looked at you during a moment of vulnerability and you saw absolutely nothing looking back. You're pouring your heart out and they're checking their phone. Not to be rude. But because your emotional crisis is genuinely less interesting than whatever notification just came through. The absence of malice almost makes it worse. Someone you know probably has a family member like this. The parent who provides everything material but never quite shows up emotionally. Who makes sure you're fed and clothed and educated but looks genuinely confused when you say you need them. They've fulfilled their obligations. What more could you possibly want? The question is sincere. They honestly don't understand. And here's what they'll never tell you, because they don't fully understand it themselves. When you're in a relationship with someone who feels nothing, you start to feel like you're going crazy. You'll pour love into them and watch it disappear into a black hole. You'll share your deepest fears and get back a helpful suggestion instead of comfort. You'll celebrate your victories alone because their congratulations sound like they're reading from a script. Slowly, quietly, you'll start to doubt your own emotions. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe love isn't supposed to feel like drowning while someone watches from the shore. But the part that haunts you is this. They're not trying to hurt you. They might even think they love you, in whatever way they understand love. They're doing their best to be what you need. They've studied the role, learned the lines. They're trying. And their best is still a desert you'll die of thirst in. The relationships they touch don't explode. They erode. Slowly. Steadily. Until you wake up one day and realize you can't remember the last time you felt truly seen. Truly held. Truly loved in a way that penetrates deeper than performance. But if you think that's disturbing, what I'll show you next goes even deeper. There's something people around you are hiding, something that changes how you'll see every interaction from now on. You won't want to miss it. So what's the dark truth behind the person who feels nothing? They're not evil. They're not monsters. They're human beings navigating a world designed for people who feel things they can't access. Some were born into their emptiness. Others were broken into it. But all of them are trapped in a prison made of silence. The scariest part? They're getting better at hiding it. Each generation learns to mimic emotion more convincingly, studies human behavior more carefully, passes more successfully for someone who cares. You've probably loved one, worked with one. Maybe you've wondered if you are one. And the truly haunting realization is this: in their own way, they are suffering too. Not in a way you'd recognize. Not with tears or despair or the desperate ache of loneliness. But with the quiet horror of watching life happen to everyone around them while they remain forever on the outside. Forever pressing their face against the glass. Forever unable to step through. The person who feels nothing isn't watching you. They're studying you. Trying to learn what it means to be human. And failing. Every single day.